Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Mike, after a few things, the Hellier documentary being one of them, made me kind of feel like I want to get back to my roots with all this paranormal stuff.
Ooh.
And I've been reading up on some old shit and getting those good old Martian feelings.
Yes. Are we going to talk about drill hands or dick nose?
I wish. You know what? Our friend Christy Johnson messaged us a while ago about how that dude who saw the drill hands wrote a book, so we should get that and definitely revisit those weirdo fucking aliens.
Yeah, I think we talked about that case like within the first 10 episodes of the show. We talked about that really early on.
Yeah.
Along with the guy that ate the magical vitamins.
I think that was the same dude.
Oh, was it? Man, what an excellent encounter that was.
Yeah.
Drill hands, magical vitamins. It's good stuff all around.
But I found a couple cases of alien abduction that have that same old spooky ring to it. And I kind of wanted to present these to you and challenge your dimensional aliens with my good old...
Oh, I dare you to. I fucking dare you to.
With some good old-fashioned men from Mars aliens. Some good old-fashioned, just straight-up abductions. And the thing that's interesting about these two cases that I want to talk about, I think they have elements that definitely, quote unquote, prove that there's an otherworldly or paranormal thing going on in these cases. These things, I think, prove that these are fucking aliens.
Like outer space aliens, not aliens like foreign from this place.
No, outer space.
Outer space aliens. That is a big claim.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you got, but I don't know if you're going to sway me.
Before we get into these two cases, let's talk about this a little bit, because I've been watching the old shit, like I said, and I got to watch the Travis Walton interview, and that's always been one of my favorite cases. It was great to see him tell a story again, no matter how many times you watch it. It's always interesting. But I was like, where's the good stories like that? I mean, that's got to be the type of shit that got you into this stuff, right? Is UFO abduction cases like that?
To me, it wasn't so much the abductions that got me into it. It was just like the weird creatures and the spaceships themselves. Like that's what really drew me in.
These things just being completely foreign to our world.
Yeah. It was like just the fact that it was weird and unexplained. That's what really got me. And back when I first got into stuff, I was really into I think it was horror movies that really got me started, because it was all the weird shit. And I liked kind of being unsettled, and because the UFOs were unexplainable, it was kind of unsettling. And there was this book at my local library, and I remember talking about this in the first episode when you asked me how I really got into this stuff. But there was this book at my local library, and I can't remember the name of it or who wrote it, but it was fucking awesome. And I used to get it all the time, but it had black and white illustrations of a few different alien encounters, and it had some photographs of some pictures that were taken in like the 50s and 60s, like that classic one that the dude on his farm took, where he got the two pictures of the UFO flying over the power line.
Mm-hmm.
Those were in there. And they did have the case in there with those the little furry aliens that were like 3 feet tall, that had like they had the glowing eyes, and they accosted a woman and tried to take her on board. There, you remember that story?
Yes, sir.
That was on there, and they had an illustration of it. It was fucking cool. But that's what really, like, reading that book and just seeing these different alien types that were talked about in there, like, that really got my imagination working in overtime. And that kind of, it was the aliens and UFOs and ghosts that really got me started, and then Bigfoot, and then from Bigfoot Bigfoot and Loch Ness really started me down the road of the cryptids. But yeah, it all started with the aliens and the ghosts, and it was the weirdness and the unexplained that really drew me in.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the wonder and just listening to a story and thinking, someone's actually claiming that this happened. Like these things, I mean, just the possibility that these things could be happening and exist.
It's like it brings magic into your world. And as a kid, a lot of things seem magical and unexplainable and awesome and amazing. And as you get older, you kind of become jaded by it. But these things, even ones where we can explain it, or where we've got, some idea, there's still a little mystery behind it, because unless we have all the evidence and we definitively debunk a case, there's still the mystery there. And we always joke about kangaroos and barn owls, but we can't prove that definitively. So the mystery exists. And even if I don't believe it 100%, there's always that off chance.
Most definitely. And there's always cases like the ones that we're going to go over now, to where there is no explanation still. They just go on that way, and they seem to go overlooked. There's so many things that go by like that, to where it's not just a really interesting abduction story, that there's some good evidence within this story, and it's still just overlooked. It still doesn't mean anything to anybody as far as aliens existing. But these stories have that good old-fashioned feel to it, like watching Unsolved Mysteries. Dude, I've been rewatching those. I have Pluto TV app, so they have an Unsolved Mysteries channel. I watch it all day. How fucking awesome was that show? They're redoing it.
Yeah, I love that show. Yeah, I was just going to say they're redoing it.
Are they going to redo Unsolved Mysteries?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's going to be restarted. I don't know who the host is going to be.
I didn't know that. I was going to say they're redoing everything else. They even redid the Twilight Zone, which I've heard nothing about. It apparently just was a miss. And all this time I've been saying, redo something like that. They've had all the true crime TV, and they would put on Unsolved Mysteries like once in the afternoon. I was like, no, people still need to see that stuff. There's so much stuff just on that show that's unexplainable, and good old fashioned stories like this. But let's get to this first one. This one's called the Kelly Cahill Abduction. And this took place August 8th, 1993. And the Cahill family, which consisted of Kelly, and who they only refer to as her husband. They don't give him a name. Let's give him a name, Mike, for the sake of the story.
Let's call him. Her name's Kelly.
Yes.
Kelly Cahill. All right, so it's Kelly Cahill and Aloysius Cahill.
Aloysius Cahill. All right. So Kelly, Aloysius, and their 3 kids are on their way home from visiting a friend.
Wait, do the kids have names, or do we get to name them as well?
Let's do it. Give them names.
All right. So Kelly and Aloysius have 3 kids. Do we know if they're boys or girls?
No.
All right. Let's say that there's 2 boys and a girl. The girl is the middle child. The oldest one's name is Bobby, because you got to have a Bobby. The little girl's name is, let's see, what do we want to name the little girl? Let's name the little girl Eloise. And then the little boy's name, he's the youngest. He's only 3 years old. 3.5, really. Don't call him a 3-year-old. He's 3.5. He earned that extra half.
Yeah, don't cut him short.
No, he will be very cross with you. But his name is Muhammad.
Nice, I love
it. Bobby, Eloise, and Muhammad, with Aloysius and Kelly.
All right, so this whole family is on their way home from visiting a friend's house, and they're driving along the Dandenong foothills in Victoria, Australia, when a little after 12 p.m., they notice what they described as strange lights in the sky directly above the road about a half mile ahead of them. As they came closer to the lights, they said that they can see that these lights were attached to a round, disc-shaped craft, with windows that ran around it. The craft quickly shot to the left side of the road, where it stopped and hovered for a little bit before completely disappearing. They nervously continued, thinking that it would be better to get home sooner than later. But only a mile down the road, they say that they were suddenly engulfed in a bright light. And Kelly says that this light was so bright she had to literally physically cover her eyes so that it wouldn't hurt. She said there was no way you can open your eyes in this light. And after a few seconds, the lights disappeared. Nobody knew what happened. Kelly instantly asked if she had blacked out, and they could smell the scent of throw up in the car, even though nobody had barfed. And supposedly they were missing 1 hour of time, but they decided just to hurry up and get the hell out of there and head home. But after they got home, as Kelly undressed for bed, she noticed an incision mark under her belly button. And shortly after this, both Kelly and Aloysius would experience sharp piercing pains in their stomachs. And Kelly's grew to be so severe that after 3 weeks she went to the doctors to see what was going on. And the doctors concluded that Kelly had a urinary tract infection along with a womb infection. And this infection in her womb had most likely come from a recent gynecological operation. And there was evidence that she had been pregnant as well. Now, Kelly said none of these things had happened or were true, so she was super confused. Now, we have to realize that Kelly had no memory of seeing the UFO or the lights or blacking out, as she questioned. And it wasn't until they were making the same drive home from the same friend's house to where she started to recall seeing the lights in the sky a few months back. She also started to recall what happened in the missing hour of time. She remembers that both her and Aloysius saw a much bigger UFO on the left side of the road in a field. They said it was about 150 feet in diameter. They pulled over and they crossed the road and hopped a ditch and started walking in this field towards the UFO. Kelly states that as they walked towards the craft, she looked back at the highway and saw that a second car had pulled over, and its occupants were now standing on the side of the road looking at the UFO as well. When she turned back around to look at the UFO, she said, quote, "A 7-foot-tall figure with fiery eyes like a fly appeared right in front of her and Aloysius." She says that she then recalls being so overcome with fear that she screamed, "They have no souls," and then noticed that there were dozens of these creatures standing in the field behind this one that appeared to them at first. And she said that groups of them hovered towards them and also towards the other 3 observers near the highway. She then felt something hit her in her stomach and she started to pass out. And then after that is when she apparently woke up in the car. She didn't remember even seeing the lights until she took the second trip down the same road. And she started to remember these things. But she says that as time went on, the details became more vivid and she was able to recall more about what happened. But the kicker about this case is that the people from the second car separately came forward and told the exact same story. The second group, which was 2 women and 1 dude, said that they saw a craft on the side of the road. They saw Kelly and Aloysius' car on the side of the road, so they decided to pull over and check out this giant UFO. They said that they saw Kelly and their husband walking towards the craft and even heard Kelly yell, "They have no souls." And they also got jacked by aliens of the same description. But they say that they were taken onto a craft. And the woman remember seeing the inside of the UFO, but the dude said that he was only able to hear and smell what was going on. He doesn't remember any visuals from the abduction. And more interestingly, they said that there was a 3rd car that had pulled over to check out this UFO, but that person or persons have never come forward. So this case really piqued my interest because of such strong corroborating testimony from a secondary group.
And the weirdness really does go back to that old school wacky abduction scenario too. But with the abduction things, I'm still of the mind that that's all humans behind it, and that these memories of aliens are screen memories that are put in people's heads.
Yeah, we've talked about that many times before.
Yeah.
We've talked about the power of hypnosis and how strong that can be, and
Yep.
even witnessing that ourselves. So that very well could be, but there's so much detail to this case. And again, the secondary group coming up with the same story, even coming up with the same phrase that Kelly yelled.
But I mean, it corroborates the story. But think about it this way: if there was, what year did you say this took place?
1993.
Okay, so 93, it could have very easily been some sort of testing craft, and it looked weird because it was experimental at that point. Maybe it was even the stealth bomber. You know, I don't think that was maybe by 93 it was well known, but I don't remember. But it was around that time when it was when it became a household name. But maybe in Australia it wasn't. I don't know. But let's say it wasn't the stealth and it was some other experimental craft. Maybe the entire thing was a fabrication. And what happened was this abduction scenario was taking place and another car came up, so they had to stop them. And they put the same screen memories in both parties so that they could corroborate their experiences. And, you know, like I've said before, the greatest cover that they can have is this UFO alien scenario. So they can get away with whatever they want if they implant these alien scenario memories in the brains of the victims. And that way the people that are being abducted, people aren't going to take them seriously. Like if they said we were driving down the road and men in military uniforms blocked our path and made us pull over and did experiments on us, that would be a lot more believable than saying these glowing fiery-eyed aliens had a UFO that they took us on board and did experiments on us.
See, there's two things I have a problem with there.
All right, let's hear it.
She said that the creature appeared in front of her. So it literally teleported in front of her. She said that every creature that was there was at least 7 feet tall. So you're talking about 20 to 30 7-foot tall dudes in a field. And I agree with you. Implanting memories is something that's been in science fiction films forever. Total Recall is all about implanting memories. It's always been an idea. I think that it's completely feasible in 2019, not 1993. I think to be able to implant something, maybe a cover story, sure, but to have a cover story match another cover to implant the same thing.
I don't think that the time has anything to do with it, because look at the 50s and 60s when they were doing MK Ultra and all the experiments and projects that came out after MK Ultra leading up to modern day. Being able to implant memories and block memories, that's something that you could do as a hypnotherapist. I mean, they are able to get people to block the crave for cigarettes through hypnosis, and they're able to recover lost memories through hypnosis. So if they're able to do that, there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to implant a post-hypnotic suggestion that says, if this memory comes to light, like they try to bury it. That's why most times it takes a certain event or returning to a certain place to trigger the memory. And so they try to bury it. And once the memory comes up, they've got the post-hypnotic suggestion saying, everything you see here is fucking 7-foot tall monster aliens. And this is not a trailer on the side of the road. This was a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if it was one of these military abduction scenarios, if they just had a fucking trailer on the side of the road or an RV, no one's going to think twice about it. The only reason the other people got caught up in it is because they were witnesses to it. So that whole scenario was seeing the things in the field and her screaming, "You have no souls." That could very well just be a fabrication. I mean, think about it. No matter, like, if you're really freaked out, are you going to just scream, "You have no soul"? Like, what a fucking weird thing to say.
I thought the same thing, and she explains that as being something weird she said because it was just an overcoming of fear. You know, she was just totally.
Yeah, but that's just like I could see like screaming like, "What are you?" or "You're monsters," but "You have no soul." Like, that's based on nothing. That's like you shooting the poor lizard wizard just because he hissed at you. Like, calm down, lady. Way to condemn an entire race just because they look monstrous to you. Man, she's fucking racist as hell. You and Aloysius can go fuck yourself, ma'am.
So nothing about that says alien at all.
I mean, yeah, if you're going based solely on her story, but I think, you know, I'm standing by my belief that the abduction scenario is not, in fact, aliens or even extra-dimensional beings. I think that it's people and that there's cover memories being put in place.
See, I believe that it started off as an alien thing, and I think that was part of the deal that was made. Like we've talked about.
They taught us the way. They taught us the ways of abduction.
No, I think.
But that kind of ties in with the military abduction scenario, though, because a lot of the there's a lot more weirdness that goes along with it once memories start getting recovered, and especially for the people that recalls being taken to a base, and a lot of times they're reporting seeing people and aliens working together. So maybe even though it's humans doing the abduction, maybe it's for aliens. Or some other sort of power, like some other creature or something otherworldly.
That's where I was going. I think that it started off as the aliens doing this, and they were allowed to as some part of agreement, like we've talked about before. And we always talk about how it's slowed down. It's not on the news anymore. You don't hear about, maybe they just don't let people saying that they've been abducted by aliens on the news anymore, but it seems to slow down. And then we got the military abduction stories like you're talking about. I think that the military was forced to become involved because these aliens started to just start doing whatever the fuck they want. I think now it's a mixture of both.
Yeah, I could see that, like they're working together in concert, or they've got they're harvesting body parts, or I don't know.
Whatever. But I think it's just gotten out of hand. I mean, shit, maybe that's why Trump wants a space force. The alien problem is something that's real. They run
But what
wild.
if it's not? What if it's not aliens though? Like, what if it's some ancient power that existed on the Earth, like the fucking lizard people?
Yeah.
Or what if it's like the great old ones, something like that, like where they need the sacrifices and they need this and that, or like if you want to go Lovecraftian, the deep ones that need the humans to mate with in order to continue their race. But in this case, instead of coming from the ocean, they come from underground, and they need to abduct people, and they've been able to manipulate the powers in the world to do their bidding.
I really hope it is something like that, man. I hope 20 years from now.
You hope it's something. I hope there's some primeval force that's forcing the military to abduct people and fuck with their genitals and implant them with chips. That's my hope. I don't know about you guys, but
not that it's just gonna be like we'll be sitting around doing this 20 years from now, and our phones will beep and we'll look at our phones and there'll be a...
We won't have phones 20 years from now. It's going to be like messages beamed directly into our brains.
That's true.
They're going to have the new chip technology, just fucking gouge out an eyeball and put in a robot eye, and everything you need is right there in your eye.
Yeah, but whatever it is going to pop up some news flash about a 17-mile wide whirlpool in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and there's just tentacles coming out of it. I mean, I'd rather have the world end like that than nuclear war or some shit like that.
Yeah, the world ends in an orgy of madness.
Yeah.
Everyone just goes fucking ape shit.
It is literally the document found in the Marianas Trench.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck surviving zombies and shit like that. That's doable, I think. I think that would be a challenging and fun situation, but
I mean it depends if they're running zombies, and it also depends where you live, you'd probably be fucked because you live in, near cities. I've got wilderness all around me. I think so long as I had supplies, I'd be all right. I could get away from the population centers and go hide in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
But if you live in a city, you're unless you get out like immediately, or you have an underground bunker, you're probably going to be zombie food at some point.
Okay, so you're going to stick with your guns. This one does not jar your perspective whatsoever.
No. This one I'm staying with the military abduction scenario.
Is it at least fun, Mike?
Well, yeah, it's fun. I mean, did you read the description? It sounds awesome. Fucking bug-eyed aliens. I love it.
Yeah, that's we've heard of bug-like aliens and mantises, but a 7-foot tall gray-like creature with multi-lensed eyes, I guess. That's a new one. All right, I got another story that has another twist in it that I think you will find undeniable.
I think you said that last time too.
I know.
And I denied the shit out of it. But I will reserve judgment. Continue.
This took place fairly recently in 2001. Again in Australia, by coincidence. Apparently you guys in Australia got it going on with the fucking aliens, huh?
They also had the Westall incident as well.
Yeah. But Keith Rylance, his wife Amy Rylance, and their friend, housemate, and business partner Petra Heller had all purchased a large property together called the Whispering Winds Winery. While the place was undergoing renovations, the trio chose to stay in a mobile home located on the property. Now, on October 4th, 2001, the three involved state the following events took place. At 11 p.m., we know that Keith was asleep in his room, which was connected to the living room. His door was slightly open. Amy fell asleep on the couch in the living room watching TV. Patra was asleep in her room, which was also connected to the living room with her door ajar. At 11:15, Petra woke up and made her way to the living room. She thought Amy was still up watching TV. When she reached the living room, she saw Amy floating in midair and fully engulfed in what she called a beam of white light. She said she was floating out the window of the living room and that the things on the coffee table that were in front of the window were floating with her as well, like they got caught in this type of tractor beam type thing. This caused Petra to freak out so bad that she fainted. And when she came to, she came so screaming, which woke Keith up. Petra was hysterical and inconsolable, but after a few minutes, she told Keith what she had seen. Keith searched the house and then went around the property outside. But by 11:40, he had given up and agreed that his wife was missing and called the police immediately. They responded and started searching the property. They noted that they instantly found no signs of any violence and that the screen to the window Petra saw Amy floating out of was cut and the plants on the outside of the window had been burnt. While the police continued searching the property, Keith got a call on his cell phone. It was a lady calling from a city that was at least a 9-hour drive away. She said she had come across a bumbling, although coherent young lady near a gas station. After talking with the young lady for a few minutes, she said her name was Amy and said to call her husband. This was Amy. When they got Amy, her hair had grown several inches and her leg and armpit hair were over an inch long. She remembered nothing, but all three of them signed affidavits swearing that these were true statements and were reminded that doing so falsely could be punishable by jail time. And they still all swear that this happened.
That's weird.
Yeah, this is a weird one because it's so recent and there's no way to explain her being 9 hours away at all within that amount of time. I mean, the police were still at the property looking for her. It's a winery. I'm sure it's big. I'm sure it took a little while, but the story notes that it was while they were searching the area for her. They weren't panning out, looking through the city. I'm sure these guys hadn't even considered her a missing person yet. But within that time, she ended up 9 hours away. And they said that she had recently dyed her hair, maybe a week before, but her natural hair color was about 2, almost 3 inches grown out. There's pictures of it. I'll try to find them. I saw like a documentary on a few things, and they mentioned this case and had photos. And they weren't kidding, man. Her leg hair looked like mine. It wasn't a couple of days. It looked like a couple of weeks.
That's really weird. Like to me, but yeah, to me this sounds like it's more of like a like she experienced some sort of weird time anomaly. But when you combine that with everything else that happened, like something strange is afoot. This one I cannot explain away as a military abduction scenario, especially that only 9 hours elapsed, but she had apparently had several days worth of hair growth, and her natural hair color was back after just recently having dyed it. There's a lot of weirdness to this, and this one I'm more hesitant to claim is a human thing. To me, this sounds more like, see, I don't want to say an alien because it doesn't, I mean, there's really nothing about it that would indicate a presence from outer space.
Petra said that while she saw Amy floating in this beam going out the window, she looked out the window for a source and saw a UFO outside.
But that's, again, assuming that the UFO, just because it's a UFO, it does not mean it's from outer space. And I know that that they often get put together, but I think, I really think that the things behind the UFO are not aliens from another world. I think I shouldn't say another world, another planet. Like, I don't think you could actually, if we knew how to travel through space, that we could just go to planet Zorbog 3 and land and hang out with the fly people. I which is not to say that I think there's no other intelligent life in the universe, because that's silly. I just don't think that if there is intelligent life in the universe, that it would be coming here.
Okay, well, there is a little bit of a kick of your military abduction theory in this story.
Okay, let's hear it.
After this happened, they contacted, I don't know if they contacted, but I'm sure UFO researchers contacted them, and they started investigating their case and taking the report on it. And they were supposed to meet this one ufologist at a hotel that they were staying at. And when she went to meet them, they were gone. And she called them, and they had said that they had been followed by what they described as a high-powered four-wheeling pickup truck that was all black. And it was following them so aggressively that they just got the fuck out of town. And that's where my research for the story ended. I didn't find anything after that.
That seems kind of weird that they would be chased out of town.
Yeah, it is something weird in the middle of it, but again, I think that lends a little bit more to working hand in hand, maybe, or maybe it's just good old Men in Black wanting them to keep their story quiet.
But usually the Men in Black will actually approach them. They won't just chase them with a vehicle.
I don't think it was necessarily chasing them, just tailing them aggressively. I don't think it would try to run them off the road or anything like that, but I don't think that Men in Black are still going to walk around in fucking Blues Brothers suits and shit like that, I think.
Why not? They've got those memory erasing devices. They could do it.
That was the biggest piece of disinfo ever produced, I think, in our time.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Men in Black?
They're just admitting it. I mean, I bet people who had no idea about Men in Black and just saw it as a movie, if you presented them with all the cases of actual Men in Black, their mind would be fucking blown.
Well, it is like, if you remember in the movies when they go to the base, there's aliens at the base working with the Men in Black, and you know they kind of frame it as like a alien deportation center, you know, but they did have aliens that were living on the premises as well, like those little fucking worm things.
Yeah, and they had that screen that showed which celebrities were aliens and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that was a pretty good one. The first one, at least.
Yeah, I enjoyed all of them. I thought they were great, but it was, to me, I was just like, that's a little weird. They're making a movie about Men in Black.
Yeah, but I mean, it's if you could say the same thing about like fucking Independence Day. You know, that's the first movie that I can recall where they actually referenced Area 51 and talked about the crashed alien craft being there with the body. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the same type of deal. I think it's little nuggets of information hidden within fiction so that it's palatable and people just think of it as being fiction. You know, there's no truth behind that. It's all in a movie, but all that stuff that's in the movie was based on something, and like that's the type of stuff that's been in conspiracy circles for decades. And then they're putting it in the movie for the public to consume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found a couple other very interesting UFO abduction related cases, and we'll cover those in the future, but I just love these. To me, they were just unexplainable. The corroborating story from the second set of witnesses in the first story, and then that girl just appearing 9 hours later. I mean, like in 2001, that's pretty recent. I mean, the cops were just like, okay, I guess. Just like, here's your wife back. We're going back to the station. Fuck off.
Please take your wife and fuck off.
Don't call us again.
Thank you very much. We are not dealing with aliens.
So I'm glad I at least was able to stump you with one story.
Yeah. You didn't really stump me. You just kind of, because to me it's still, even though that doesn't sound like a military abduction, it still sounds like some sort of weird, one of the weird aspects of the world we live in. I guess I'll say I've got this whole theory that it's all connected and or whatever intelligence is behind it. It's been here along with humans from the beginning. Whether it was something that was existent before humans and it saw the rise of humans and used that to its advantage, or if we came up together in the world on our own, maybe it's a more powerful thing and it posed as gods in the ancient world. You know, kind of like the ancient aliens theory, except without space aliens. It's just something else. Part of our world that we are just that remains hidden from us in a way, whether it be multidimensional or what have you. There's just so many similarities throughout the centuries especially of people just disappearing or hearing things in the woods and going to investigate and just disappearing, like behind a bush, just like the missing 411 stuff, or seeing a light and then never being seen again after encountering the light. And all sorts of weird reports of lights in the sky, and even in the Bible, there's all manner of things like that. And it's a reoccurring thing in most mythology across the world. Like, you just look at the old religious beliefs or the old legends and stories, and a lot of it has to do with beings or gods coming down from the sky, or lights in the sky, or things coming up from underground and interacting with people or imparting knowledge. And I think there's a reason behind that. And as much as I want to say that a lot of these abduction scenarios are military abductions, I think in cases like this where there's just this overwhelming weirdness, and you've got people witnessing things going on that did not get abducted, but witnessed a person being abducted. Like that, I think, to me, that gives more strength to the story.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing that I could think of for this last story would be if the people that were witnessing the woman being abducted were also hypnotized. But to me, it would seem if they were all going to be undergoing it, that they would all be getting experimented on as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that Kelly didn't mention about anything about being on a craft or any experimentation done on her, but that second group of people said they were taken aboard the craft. They were experimented on, and that guy said that he was able to tell what was going on, even though he was only able to smell and hear. He knew that they were doing stuff to them, to their genitals.
Man, what a bunch of preverts.
Yeah, what about the womb infection? I mean, for the doctors to say that, they're like, you've been pregnant.
What were they doing?
Yeah. Ew. They're double dipping, the dirty bastards.
Gross. No, that's a big no.
Aliens are slobs.
Dirty bastards.
At least use some Axe, you pricks. At least let
some Axe.
Let it smell good, at least.
Gel your hair. Wear a gold chain. Look presentable.
Wash, ya fuck.
Wash your dick.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.